the impossible survivors. The research vessel Luminous Endeavor drifted through the outer rim of uncharted space, its crystalline hull reflecting starlight in patterns that would have mesmerized any biological eye. Dr. Silvara Taith stood at her observation station, her body a living sculpture of transparent mineral formations that pulsed with soft bioluminescent thought patterns. The Valorians were a patient species, born from mineral-rich cave systems on a world where time moved slowly and danger was a concept studied in theoretical models. Captain Rel Morvax approached with the deliberate grace characteristic of their kind. His crystalline structure was older, showing the fracture lines of 2 centuries of careful existence. He gestured toward the main display with a limb that chimed softly as it moved. The display showed something that should not exist, a vessel of primitive construction, damaged beyond what any known species could survive, yet emitting faint power signatures. Silvara adjusted her sensory nodes to focus on the data streams. The vessel measured approximately 300 meters in length, constructed from iron alloys and carbon composites that her databases classified as ancient technology. The design was inefficient, blocky, with none of the elegant curves that proper engineering demanded. Radiation scarring covered every surface. Micrometeor impacts had created thousands of small breaches. One entire section of the hull had been torn open, exposing interior decks to the vacuum. This ship should have been a tomb. The fact that it was not defied everything Silvara knew about survival in deep space. She cross-referenced the design against the Galactic Union archives, searching through records spanning 10,000 species and 50 million years of documented spacefaring civilizations. Nothing matched. The vessel was unknown, unregistered, impossible. Captain Morvax's thought patterns flickered with concern, visible as amber pulses through his crystalline body. They had standing orders from the Galactic Union to investigate any unknown vessels, but those orders assumed the vessels would belong to species already catalogued or at least to species following understood physical laws. This ship violated assumptions they had never thought to question. Silvara initiated a passive scan, flooding the mysterious vessel with sensor waves that would reveal its composition without causing damage. The results arrived in cascading data streams that her geological mind processed with methodical precision. The hull contained steel, aluminum, titanium, materials that were functional but crude. The power source appeared to be controlled fusion, a technology most species abandoned after discovering more efficient energy generation methods. Life support systems were minimal, offering none of the environmental luxuries that civilized beings required. Then she detected something that made her internal light flicker in disbelief. Life signs. Faint, irregular, but unmistakably present. Something living was aboard that wreck, had been aborted for what her analysis suggested was decades, surviving in conditions that should have killed any known organism within hours. Captain Morvax received the data and stood motionless for a full minute, a sign of deep contemplation among Valorians. When he finally spoke, his voice resonated through the command chamber like wind through stone caverns. They would need to board the vessel. They would need to make contact with whatever impossible thing lived inside it. The decision violated every instinct their species possessed, but duty to the Galactic Union demanded understanding, not retreat. The boarding party assembled in the primary airlock. Besides Silvara, there was Navigator Preth, whose youth showed in the bright clarity of his crystalline structure, and 3 security specialists who had never encountered anything more dangerous than equipment malfunctions. Valorians did not believe in weapons. They believed in knowledge, understanding, and the civilizing power of patience. These beliefs had served them well for millions of years on their peaceful homeworld and throughout their careful expansion into space. They crossed the void between ships and environmental pods, transparent spheres that maintained the specific atmospheric pressure and mineral-rich air their bodies required. The damaged vessel grew larger as they approached, and Silvara used the time to study its exterior more closely. She noticed markings etched into the hull, symbols that resembled no known written language. They appeared deliberately placed, organized in patterns that suggested meaning rather than random decoration. The airlock they chose was partially functional. It cycled with grinding mechanical sounds that spoke of systems pushed far beyond their design specifications. When the inner door opened, they entered a corridor that assaulted their senses with its wrongness. The air was thin and cold, composed primarily of nitrogen and oxygen in ratios that would be toxic to most species. Oxygen was a corrosive gas, highly reactive, used in industrial processes but never as something to breathe. The temperature was barely above the freezing point of water, yet the life signs their sensors detected suggested the inhabitants found this normal. They moved deeper into the vessel and Silvara recorded everything. The walls were covered with more of those strange symbols. Some appeared to be directional markers. Others seemed to be warnings, though about what she could not determine. They passed through what might have been living quarters, small cramped spaces with basic furniture designed for creatures with a specific body configuration. Bipedal, approximately 2 meters tall, with appendages for manipulation rather than specialized survival. Navigator Pretha's light patterns showed fascination rather than fear. He was examining everything with the enthusiasm of youth, making observations that his elders might have dismissed. He pointed out that the vessel's design, while primitive, showed remarkable redundancy. Every critical system had backup systems, and those backup systems had their own backups. The ship was built by beings who expected failure and planned to survive it anyway. They found the first body in what appeared to be an engineering section. It was humanoid in shape, covered in some kind of protective suit that had failed long ago. The biological form inside had been preserved by the cold and vacuum, frozen in the moment of death. Silvara's scans revealed a creature built on carbon-based biochemistry, with an internal skeleton and a centralized circulatory system using iron-based oxygen transport. The creature had been young when it died, perhaps attempting to repair critical systems when the ship suffered its catastrophic damage. But if this one had died, what were the life signs they were still detecting? They continued forward, following the faint power signatures toward the vessel's core. The damage became more severe as they progressed. Entire sections were exposed to space, sealed off by emergency bulkheads that had deployed automatically. The ship's builders had understood the need for compartmentalization, for containing disaster before it could spread. It was a philosophy born from experience with danger, something Valorians had never needed to develop. The life signs were coming from what their analysis suggested was a cargo bay, one of the few sections that had retained atmospheric integrity. The door was sealed, but Navigator Preth managed to interface with the primitive electronic lock system. The door slid open with a sound of protesting metal, revealing a space filled with containers and equipment. And there, in the corner beneath a pile of thermal blankets, they found the survivor. The creature was bipedal as expected, but seeing it alive was different from studying the frozen corpse. It had skin, not scales or crystals or energy fields, but actual flexible skin covering its entire body in shades of brown. Hair grew from its head in dark curls, matted and unkempt. Its face had 2 forward-facing eyes, a hallmark of predatory species, and a mouth that could open to reveal teeth designed for tearing and grinding. It was wearing damaged clothing, and it was watching them with an expression that Silvara's xenopsychology training recognized as extreme caution mixed with desperate hope. The creature moved slowly, raising both upper appendages with the palms facing outward, fingers spread. Some kind of peaceful gesture, perhaps, or a demonstration that it held no weapons. It made sounds, vocalizations that emerged from its throat in complex patterns. The Valorian translation matrices began working immediately, sampling the sounds and comparing them against linguistic databases. After several moments, words began to form. "Please," the creature said, its voice rough and damaged from disuse. "Please help me. I am Marcus Webb, engineer of the colony ship New Horizon. I've been alone for so long. Are you real, or am I finally losing my mind completely?" Silvara felt her internal structures resonate with shock. This creature had been alone on this dying ship, surviving in conditions that should have been instantly fatal, and it was greeting them with requests for help rather than aggression. She activated her own vocalization system, generating sounds through carefully modulated vibrations. "We are real. I am Dr. Silvara Taith of the Valorian research vessel Luminous Endeavor. We detected your ship and came to investigate. You are safe now." The creature's face changed, moisture gathering in its eyes and streaming down its cheeks. Silvara's databases identified this as crying, an emotional response involving the release of excess fluid. The creature made a sound that might have been laughter or sobbing or both. "Safe," Marcus Webb repeated. "I have not been safe since the collision. That was 17 years ago. 17 years alone while everyone else died. I kept the ship running. I kept myself alive. I kept hoping someone would find us eventually. 17 years. The number hung in the space between them like an accusation. No Valorian could have survived 17 days in such conditions, let alone 17 years. What kind of species could endure such isolation, such hardship, and remain sane enough to communicate? Silvara signaled for the medical supplies they had brought. She approached slowly, making her movements as non-threatening as possible. Marcus Webb watched her with those predator eyes, but he did not retreat. He seemed to understand that they meant no harm. "What is your species called?" Silvara asked as she began scanning his biological functions. The readings were disturbing. His body temperature was maintaining itself at a level that should have caused protein breakdown. His heart, a muscular pump of remarkable simplicity and efficiency, was beating at a rate that suggested constant stress. His lungs were processing that toxic oxygen atmosphere as if it were normal. Human, Marcus said. I am human. We come from a planet called Earth. It is a long way from here, in a region your people probably have not explored yet. Silvara accessed the Galactic Union star charts and entered the coordinates from the ship's navigation computer. The search results made her internal light flicker with alarm. The coordinates pointed to a star system deep within a region marked with the highest level warning designation. The area was classified as the Forbidden Expanse, a zone where environmental conditions were so hostile that even automated probes frequently failed to return data. No member species of the Galactic Union had ever attempted colonization there. She expanded the search, looking for any record of the planet this human called Earth. The archives contained one entry, a preliminary survey conducted by an automated probe 8,000 years earlier. The probe had survived long enough to classify the planet and assign it a danger rating before its systems failed due to unexpected radiation exposure. The classification appeared on her display, and Silvara felt something she had rarely experienced in her long, careful life. Fear. Deep, primal fear at the implications of what she was seeing. The planet Earth had been assigned a Class 15 rating, the absolute maximum on the danger scale. A rating reserved for worlds where survival was considered functionally impossible for any known form of complex life. Class 15 worlds were theoretical nightmares. They were planets where everything was wrong, where the environment itself was hostile to existence. Toxic atmospheres, extreme temperatures, geological instability, lethal radiation, aggressive microbial life, large predators, violent weather systems, and countless other hazards combined to create conditions where death was not just possible but inevitable. The Galactic Union had encountered exactly 3 Class 15 worlds in 50 million years of exploration. All 3 had been quarantined and avoided. The idea that intelligent life could evolve on such a world was considered impossible by every xenobiological model. Yet here was Marcus Webb, human, claiming to come from exactly such an impossible place. And he was alive. Not just alive but functional, coherent, capable of communication and complex thought despite 17 years of isolation that would have broken any Valerian within weeks. Your planet, Silvara said carefully, trying to keep her vocalization steady. Earth. What is it like? Marcus looked confused by the question, as if she had asked him to describe something so fundamental that he had never thought to put it into words. He was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, his voice carried a strange mixture of affection and weariness. Earth is home, he said simply. It is beautiful and terrible. It has oceans that can swallow ships whole and mountains that scrape the sky. It has storms that can level cities and deserts where nothing lives for hundreds of kilometers. It has creatures that hunt in the darkness and diseases that kill in days. The ground shakes without warning. The sun burns if you are not careful. The cold can freeze you solid in minutes. But it is also where flowers grow and rain falls and children play and people love each other. It made us what we are. We would not exist without it, even though it tries to kill us every single day. Silvara processed this description and cross-referenced it against the Class 15 classification parameters. Everything Marcus described matched perfectly. He was confirming that humans had evolved on a death world, that they had not just survived but thrived, building a civilization complex enough to achieve spaceflight. Navigator Preth was examining the cargo containers. He opened one and found it filled with seeds, carefully preserved in vacuum-sealed packages. Another contained tools, basic implements for agriculture and construction. A third held books, physical information storage using pressed plant material and ink. These humans had been attempting to colonize a new world, carrying with them the essentials of their civilization. How many of you were on this ship? Silvara asked. 342, Marcus said. His voice became hollow. Families, scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers. We were going to build a new home on a planet in the Kepler system. We never made it. We hit something, debris maybe, or a micrometeorite swarm. The collision destroyed our main drives and breached multiple sections. Most people died in the first hour. The rest died over the following weeks as life support failed section by section. I survived because I was in the engineering bay. I was able to seal it off and maintain minimal power to life support. I have been rationing food and water for 17 years, recycling everything, eating half of what I needed and hoping it would be enough until someone found us. 17 years of rationing. 17 years of isolation. 17 years of maintaining hope despite losing everyone he knew. Silvara realized she was in the presence of something her species had never encountered. A survivor in the truest sense, a being forged by a world that demanded constant adaptation and resilience. "We need to take you to our ship," Silvara said. "We need to study you to understand your biology. And we need to contact your people. They will want to know you survived." Marcus nodded slowly. "There is something you should know," he said. "Before the collision we sent out a distress signal. We told Earth what happened and gave our coordinates. That was 17 years ago. If they received the signal, they might have sent someone to look for us." Silvara felt her internal structures resonate with a new concern. She signaled Captain Morvax on the luminous Endeavor, requesting an immediate long-range sensor sweep of the surrounding space. The response came back within moments and it confirmed her fears. 37 vessels were approaching their location at high speed. The ships were of similar construction to the New Horizon, primitive but functional, and they were armed. Not with the sophisticated energy weapons of civilized species, but with kinetic projectiles and explosive missiles, weapons designed to destroy through brute force rather than elegance. Humanity had received the distress signal. And humanity was coming for their lost colonists with enough firepower to ensure no one stood in their way. The children of the Deathworld were about to introduce themselves to the galaxy, and the galaxy was completely unprepared for what that meant. Marcus Webb looked at the sensor data on Silvara's display and smiled. It was a predator's smile, showing teeth, but there was genuine warmth in it. "They came," he said softly. "I knew they would. Humans do not leave their own behind. Ever. Children of the Deathworld." The command chamber of the luminous Endeavor had never felt so small. Captain Rel Morvax stood at the center, his crystalline form flickering with patterns of deep concern as he studied the tactical display. 37 vessels, all broadcasting identification signals that matched the primitive design language of the New Horizon, were decelerating into weapons range. The lead ship was significantly larger than the others, a command vessel bristling with communication arrays and what the Valerian sensors hesitantly classified as defensive armaments. Dr. Silvara Taith had brought Marcus Webb aboard, and the human now stood beside her, looking at the display with an expression she was learning to read as relief mixed with apprehension. His body language suggested he understood the tension his people's arrival had created. He had requested permission to communicate with the incoming fleet, and Captain Morvax had reluctantly agreed. What choice did they have? The alternative was to flee, but running would only create more suspicion and potentially hostile misunderstanding. Marcus approached the communication console with the careful movements of someone conserving energy after years of rationing. Navigator Preth had quickly adapted the interface to accept human vocal input, and Marcus leaned toward the microphone with visible emotion. "This is Engineer Marcus Webb of the colony ship New Horizon to approaching Earth vessels. I am alive and currently aboard an alien research vessel designated Luminous Endeavor. These beings are peaceful. They rescued me. I repeat, they are peaceful and have shown me nothing but kindness. Please acknowledge." The response came within seconds, and the voice that emerged from the speakers was female, carrying an authority that transcended the primitive audio quality. "Marcus Webb, this is Admiral Chen Wei of the United Earth Space Command vessel Defiant Hope. We received your colony's distress signal 17 years ago. We have been searching ever since. Stand by for docking procedures. We are bringing you home." The transmission ended and Marcus's legs seemed to lose their strength. He sat down heavily on the deck, and that moisture began streaming from his eyes again. Silvara understood now that this was an emotional release, a physical manifestation of feelings too strong to contain. Navigator Preth brought water, having learned that humans required regular fluid intake, and Marcus drank it with shaking hands. Captain Morvax's thought patterns showed deep uncertainty. The approaching human fleet had made no threatening gestures, but their very presence was intimidating. Each vessel was heavily armored, designed with the same redundancy philosophy as the New Horizon. They were ships built by beings who expected disaster and engineered to survive it. More troubling were the weapons systems. Valerian sensors identified kinetic cannons, missile tubes, electromagnetic pulse generators, and what appeared to be nuclear warheads. Nuclear weapons. Devices that used atomic fission to create massive explosions. The Galactic Union had banned such weapons 12 million years ago as barbaric and environmentally destructive. Yet here were humans, casually transporting such devices through space as if they were standard equipment. What kind of species brought weapons of mass destruction on a rescue mission? The answer, Silvara was beginning to understand, was a species from a Class-15 world. A species that had learned to survive by being prepared for the absolute worst-case scenario at all times. The largest human vessel, the Defiant Hope, moved into close proximity with the luminous Endeavor. Silvara watched through the observation ports as the human ship deployed a docking tube, a flexible corridor that would connect the two vessels and allow personnel transfer. The technology was primitive but effective, another example of human engineering philosophy. Build what works, make it redundant, and trust nothing to operate perfectly. Captain Morvax had agreed to allow a small delegation aboard. Silvara suspected this decision cost him greatly. Valorians did not easily accept unknown variables into their carefully controlled environments. But diplomatic protocol demanded it, and the Galactic Union's first contact procedures required face-to-face communication when possible. The airlock cycled, and 3 humans entered the luminous Endeavor. The first was a woman whose bearing suggested command authority. She wore a dark blue uniform with insignia that Marcus had explained indicated high rank. Her hair was black with streaks of gray, pulled back from her face in a severe style. Her eyes were dark and assessed everything with the same predatory focus Silvara had noted in Marcus. This was Admiral Chinwei, and she moved with the confidence of someone who had faced danger and survived it many times. Behind her came 2 others. One was a woman of African descent, her skin a rich brown, wearing the white and blue uniform that Marcus identified as Scientific Corps. She carried scanning equipment remarkably similar to Valerian devices, suggesting human technology had achieved respectable sophistication despite its crude foundation. The third was a man whose uniform suggested security specialization, and he carried a weapon openly on his hip. A projectile firearm designed to kill through kinetic impact. The casual presence of such a weapon made every Valerian in the command chamber deeply uncomfortable. Admiral Chinwei's eyes found Marcus immediately, and her professional composure cracked just slightly. "Engineer Webb," she said, and her voice carried emotion carefully controlled. "You have no idea how good it is to see you alive." Marcus stood, straightening despite his obvious exhaustion. "Admiral, I kept my promise. I kept the ship's core systems operational. The navigation logs are intact. The colony supplies are preserved. I did my duty." "You did more than your duty, Marcus. You survived 17 years alone in the void. That makes you the longest solo space endurance record holder in human history. You are coming home as a hero." The woman in the science uniform stepped forward, her eyes fixed on Silvara with undisguised fascination. "I am Dr. Sarah Kamathi, exobiologist and first contact specialist. This is the most extraordinary moment of my life. You are the first non-human intelligence we have ever encountered. I have so many questions." Silvara resonated with a welcoming frequency. "I am Dr. Silvara Taith, xenobiologist. I share your enthusiasm for mutual understanding. Though I confess your species has raised many questions for us as well." Admiral Chinwei turned to Captain Morvax, who had remained at a respectful distance. "Captain, I want to thank you personally for rescuing our man and for treating him with respect. Earth owes you a debt." Captain Morvax's thought patterns flickered with diplomatic colors. "We simply followed our duty to investigate and assist. Engineer Webb has been most informative about your species." "I imagine he has," Admiral Chin said. "And I imagine our existence has been somewhat shocking for you. We have reviewed the Galactic Union databases that Marcus accessed from your systems. We know you classified Earth as Class 15. We know you consider our homeworld uninhabitable. We understand this makes us an anomaly." Silvara decided to address this directly. Avoiding the issue would only create more tension. "Admiral, with respect, your species represents something we considered impossible. Our models of life development and civilization advancement do not account for intelligence evolving on a world as hostile as yours. We are struggling to understand how you survived long enough to achieve spaceflight." Dr. Kamathi smiled, and Silvara was learning that when humans showed teeth in this particular way, it indicated friendliness rather than aggression. "The short answer is that we adapted. The long answer would take years to fully explain. But perhaps I can give you some context that might help." She activated a holographic projector, and an image of Earth appeared between them. It was beautiful in a terrible way, blue oceans and green continents wrapped in white clouds. Dr. Kamathi began pointing to various features as she spoke. "Earth is approximately 4.5 billion years old. Life emerged on it roughly 3.7 billion years ago. That life has been fighting to survive every single day since then. Our planet has experienced 5 major mass extinction events. Each one killed between 70 and 96% of all species alive at the time. The most recent was 66 million years ago when an asteroid impact created a global winter that lasted for years. Dinosaurs, massive reptilian creatures that had dominated the planet for millions of years, went extinct. But small mammalian creatures survived by being adaptable, by eating anything they could find, by hiding in burrows and emerging when the worst had passed. She zoomed the image to show different regions of Earth. Our planet has every environmental extreme you can imagine. We have regions where temperatures exceed 50 degrees Celsius and others where they drop below -50. We have deserts where no rain falls for years and rainforests where it rains almost every day. We have mountains higher than most species would consider climbable and ocean trenches deeper than most would consider explorable. Life exists in all of these places. Life adapted to every niche, no matter how hostile. Navigator Preth was listening with complete fascination. But how did intelligence emerge from such chaos? Dr. Kimathi's expression became thoughtful. That is the remarkable part. Our ancestors, early primates, were not the strongest or fastest or most specialized creatures on Earth. We were vulnerable. We could not survive the cold without shelter. We could not hunt the largest prey without tools. We could not fight off predators with just our bodies. So we developed something else. Intelligence, cooperation, tool use, language. We survived by thinking our way around problems, by working together, by passing knowledge from generation to generation. Admiral Chen Wei added to the explanation. Every challenge Earth presented, we eventually overcame. Predators hunted us, so we learned to hunt them. We made weapons, built fires, created societies. Disease killed us, so we developed medicine. We studied the organisms that attacked us and found ways to fight back. Starvation threatened us, so we invented agriculture. We domesticated plants and animals, turning parts of Earth's hostile environment into resources we could control. Natural disasters destroyed our settlements, so we learned to build stronger structures and develop warning systems. Silvara was processing this information, but one aspect troubled her deeply. Admiral, your history includes warfare. Marcus mentioned this. Humans have fought each other extensively. The Admiral's expression hardened. Yes. That is one of our greatest shames and one of our defining characteristics. Humans are territorial, competitive, and sometimes violently disagreeable. We have fought wars over land, resources, ideological differences, religious beliefs, and sometimes for no good reason at all. We have killed each other in numbers that would horrify you. Our 20th century alone saw 2 global conflicts that killed over 100 million people combined. The command chamber went silent. 100 million deaths. The number was incomprehensible to Valorians, whose entire species numbered only 3 billion across dozens of worlds, and who had not experienced violent conflict in recorded history. But, Admiral Chen continued, we also learned from those conflicts. We built international organizations to prevent wars. We established rules of engagement. We created humanitarian laws. We learned that cooperation achieves more than conflict. The United Earth government that exists today was built on the ashes of our worst mistakes. We are still flawed, still struggling with our aggressive instincts, but we are trying to be better. Dr. Kimathi pulled up biological data on her display. Captain, with your permission, I would like to share some information about human physiology that might help you understand us better. Captain Morvax signaled agreement, and Dr. Kimathi continued. Humans are persistence predators. Our bodies are designed for endurance. We have specialized sweat glands that allow us to cool ourselves while running, something most Earth creatures cannot do. This meant our ancestors could chase prey for hours until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. We also have exceptional hand-eye coordination and the ability to throw objects with great accuracy. This made us effective hunters even before we developed advanced technology. She pulled up an image of human musculature. Our bodies are optimized for versatility rather than specialization. We can run, climb, swim, and manipulate tools with the same basic body structure. We can survive on an enormous variety of foods, from plants to meat to fungi. Our immune systems are incredibly aggressive, constantly fighting off thousands of potential infections. Our pain tolerance is high because anything living on Earth needs to function despite injury. Our healing rate is impressive by galactic standards because wounds that would disable other species are merely inconvenient to us. Silvara examined the data with growing astonishment. Every aspect of human biology reflected adaptation to extreme conditions. Their bones were dense and strong to withstand high-gravity impacts. Their cardiovascular system was redundant and powerful, able to operate under stress that would kill most species. Their brain was disproportionately large, using 20% of their body's energy despite being only 2% of their mass, Because intelligence was their primary survival tool. There is something else you should understand, Admiral Chin said. Humans are social creatures. We form strong bonds with family, friends, and communities. We are loyal to those we care about, sometimes irrationally so. This is why we sent 37 ships to search for a colony that disappeared 17 years ago. This is why we would never abandon Marcus, even if the logical choice was to assume he had died. We do not leave our people behind. Ever. It is a fundamental part of what makes us human. Lieutenant James Rodriguez, the security officer, spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and carried the tone of someone comfortable with violence but controlled in its application. You should also know that this fleet is armed and ready to fight if necessary. Not because we want conflict, but because space is dangerous and we prepare for worst-case scenarios. Those nuclear warheads you detected are standard equipment on long-range missions. We hope never to use them, but they are there if we need them. Captain Morvax's thought patterns showed alarm. You bring weapons of such destructive power on a rescue mission? We bring them on every mission, Admiral Chin said calmly. Because we have learned that hoping for peace while preparing for war is how you survive. Earth taught us that lesson repeatedly. We are not a violent species by choice, Captain. We are a prepared species by necessity. Dr. Silvara decided to ask the question that had been building in her crystalline mind since the moment she found Marcus Webb. Admiral, what do you want? Why did humanity reach for the stars? What are your intentions toward the galaxy? Admiral Chinwei was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice carried a weight of honesty that Silvara found compelling. We reached for the stars because it is in our nature to explore, to push boundaries, to see what lies beyond the horizon. Earth is our home, but it is also our prison. We have filled every corner of it, and now we need more space, more resources, more opportunity. We want to find new worlds to settle, new species to learn from, new challenges to overcome. She paused, meeting the eyes of every being in the command chamber. But we also want something else. We want to prove that species from a death world can be more than survivors. We want to show that the strength we gain from hardship can be used for good. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves. We want friends, allies, partners in exploring this incredible universe. Dr. Kamathi added, we also hope to learn from species like yours. You have achieved things we cannot yet imagine. Your crystalline biology, your peaceful civilization, your advanced technology, these are wonders to us. We have much to learn and we hope you will teach us. Navigator Preth spoke up, his youthful enthusiasm overcoming protocol. What if the galaxy fears you? What if other species see humans as a threat? Admiral Chin smiled, but it was a sad smile. Then we will work to prove them wrong. We know what we are. We know we are dangerous, aggressive, and sometimes frightening. But we are also compassionate, creative, and loyal. We contain both light and darkness, and we choose every day which side to strengthen. We hope the galaxy will give us a chance to demonstrate that the children of Earth can be trusted. Captain Morvax made a decision that would change his species' future. He stepped forward and extended a crystalline limb in the Valerian gesture of alliance. Admiral Chinwei, on behalf of the Valerian people and as a member of the Galactic Union, I formally welcome humanity to the galactic community. Your survival is remarkable. Your achievements are impressive. Your intentions appear honorable. I believe the galaxy should know about you, and I believe you deserve a place among the stars. Admiral Chen grasped the offered limb carefully, mindful of the delicate crystalline structure. Thank you, Captain. That means more than you know. Humanity has been alone for so long, wondering if we were the only intelligent life in the universe. Finding you, finding the Galactic Union, knowing that we are not alone, it changes everything for us. Dr. Silvara felt her internal structures resonate with something she had never experienced before, hope mixed with anticipation. Humanity would be a disruptive force in the galaxy. Their presence would challenge assumptions, force adaptations, create both opportunities and problems. But perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Perhaps the ordered, peaceful, careful civilizations of the Union had become too comfortable, too static, too unwilling to take risks. And there was something else, something that no one had spoken aloud but everyone was thinking. The galaxy faced threats that careful, peaceful species struggled to address. There were hostile elements in unexplored regions. There were mysteries that required courage to investigate. There were challenges that needed beings who were accustomed to fighting for survival. Humanity might be exactly what the galaxy needed, even if the galaxy did not yet know it. Admiral Chin turned to Marcus Webb, who had been watching the entire exchange with quiet emotion. Ready to go home, engineer? Marcus nodded. More than ready, Admiral. Though I think I will need some time to adjust. 17 years alone changes a person. We have counselors waiting. We have celebrations planned. You are a hero, Marcus. Earth wants to honor you. I just did my job, Marcus said quietly. I survived because Earth taught me how. Because humans do not give up. Because my family and my world made me strong enough to endure. Admiral Chen put a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of comfort and connection. That is exactly right. Earth made you strong. And now Earth's children are going to show the galaxy what strength born from hardship can achieve. She turned back to Captain Morvax. We would like to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Union. We have much to discuss. Trade agreements, cultural exchange, technological cooperation, and security arrangements. We also need to address how the galaxy will react to our existence. I suspect our classification as a Class 15 species will cause considerable alarm. Captain Morvax's thought patterns flickered with diplomatic consideration. That will indeed be challenging. The Union has never encountered a spacefaring civilization from such a hostile environment. There will be fear, suspicion, and resistance. But there will also be fascination, respect, and opportunity. I will advocate for humanity's admission to the Union, and I believe my testimony about your honorable conduct will carry weight. Dr. Kimathi added, we understand there will be protocols, evaluations, and probably lengthy bureaucratic processes. We are prepared to be patient and to demonstrate our peaceful intentions through consistent actions over time. We are not asking for special treatment or immediate acceptance. We simply want a chance to prove ourselves. Navigator Preth had been quietly processing everything, and now he spoke with the insight that sometimes comes from youth. Perhaps humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy will not be your strength or your technology, but your perspective. You have survived what we cannot imagine. You have overcome what we would consider impossible. Maybe you can teach us to be braver, to take necessary risks, to push beyond our comfortable boundaries. Silvara resonated with agreement. Navigator Preth makes an excellent point. The Valorians, and indeed most Union species, have become very good at avoiding danger. We have built our civilizations on stability and caution. But there are regions of space we have never explored because they seem too risky. There are technologies we have never developed because they seem too dangerous. Perhaps with human courage and human determination, we could achieve things we never thought possible. Admiral Chen's expression showed appreciation. That is a generous perspective, Dr. Taith. And it suggests a possible path forward. Humanity could offer its unique strengths in service to the Union's goals. Exploration of hazardous regions, for example. We are accustomed to environmental dangers. Research into high-risk technologies. We are comfortable with controlled danger if the potential benefits justify it. Emergency response and disaster relief. We excel at functioning under crisis conditions. Lieutenant Rodriguez added his perspective. We could also provide security consultation. Not because we want to militarize the Union, but because we understand tactics, defense, and threat assessment in ways that peaceful species might not. If there are hostile elements in the galaxy, we could help develop response strategies. Captain Morvax considered this carefully. The idea of humans providing security expertise was both logical and troubling. Logical because their experience with conflict was undeniable. Troubling because it acknowledged that the galaxy might need warriors, and that violated comfortable assumptions about civilization and progress. But reality, as the humans had learned long ago, did not care about comfortable assumptions. Reality demanded adaptation, and sometimes adaptation meant accepting uncomfortable truths. These are discussions for the Union Council, Captain Morvax said finally. But I believe your suggestions have merit. The galaxy is larger and more complex than any single species can fully understand. Perhaps diversity of experience, including experience with hardship, is exactly what we need. Admiral Chen extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement, and Captain Morvax carefully touched it with a crystalline limb. The contact between their species, between two utterly different forms of life from completely different worlds, symbolized something profound. The galaxy was changing. The children of the Death World had arrived, and nothing would ever be quite the same. Marcus Webb watched this historic moment and smiled. He had survived 17 years alone by remembering what Earth had taught him. Adapt, endure, never give up, always hope. Now his species would carry those lessons to the stars, and the galaxy would learn what it meant to be human. Earth had forged them in fire. The void had tested them. And now they were ready to show the universe that survivors could become something more. They could become explorers, allies, friends. They could be the bridge between caution and courage, between safety and progress, between what was and what could be. The future was uncertain, as futures always are. But uncertainty did not frighten humanity. They were children of a world that taught uncertainty as a fundamental lesson. They would face whatever came with the same determination that had carried them from caves to cities to the stars themselves. And the galaxy, ready or not, was about to discover what Deathworld children could achieve.